Hi, I'm Eric Johnson. I'm here today at the Owen Graduate School of Management. And I'm here today with Christina Zamarro. Christina is Executive Vice President and Chief Financial Officer for Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company. Welcome, Christina.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, Eric.
Well, it's an exciting time in the auto industry. Electronic vehicles are really transforming the industry, and not just the vehicles themselves, but the business models for servicing, the whole value chain is really changing. How is that impacting Goodyear?
Sure, great question. So the electrification of the car park presents a lot of unique challenges for tire manufacturers, and that's because these vehicles can weigh as much as 30 to 40% more
Wow.
than ICE engine vehicles. They also have significantly more torque. Their cornering is very different because of the vehicle dynamics, and they also sometimes have regenerative braking. And what that all means is increased pressure and stress on the tire. And so that's a unique engineering challenge that really plays to the strengths of Goodyear and other tier one tire manufacturers who have the history of R&D and technology advancements, and we're able then to construct new tires that are able to bear the weight and also lengthen the battery life of the vehicle through ultra low rolling resistance technology. And a lot of that comes through new materials. And so what that means is that we're able to create a mix up and margin enhancement in our business with our OE customers. And we like when the OEs change technology because that helps us create a competitive advantage against tier two manufacturers. So it's a really good margin enhancement as well as share performance opportunity for us, but not just at OE, because we'll also see that pull through on into the replacement market when those vehicles come in for first and second replacement tires.
And they'll likely wear out faster?
They will. They'll wear out the same tire for an ICE vehicle that's fit for that purpose, if you use it on an EV vehicle, can wear out as much as 2 times faster. Now, with special engineering, and if it's fit for purpose for EV, we can shorten that up by a half.
Well, if the EV transformation wasn't enough, we're all running into some headwinds with inflation and rising interest rates. Certainly, feeling that there may be a downturn on the horizon, and Goodyear had a small headcount reduction last quarter. How do you see the economy of the U.S. rolling for the next 12 months?
Yeah, sure, Eric. So when we look at our business, for Goodyear, we're always going to be geared towards demand for travel. And as we've been looking at the most recent data points, like vehicle miles traveled in the U.S., this is up on a year-over-year basis by 4 percentage points. So there's still a very strong demand to move around and a strong demand for travel here in the U.S. And that's also in line with pre-COVID levels. So even as we think about hybrid work, people are still out and about moving. Obviously, like any consumer products-based company, we're very interested in looking for all signs of demand destruction as it relates to higher interest rates and also the workforce reductions we've seen across corporate America over the past several months. I think consensus view is right now that that's likely to come more towards the back half of 2023 or even early into 2024, so we'll continue to watch for that trend. What's interesting is for our business, we're generally tagged as a defensive player because the replacement industry only drops about 2 to 3% during recessionary periods, and that's because ultimately, a tire isn't discretionary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on top of all these other things, we have a higher interest rate environment, and certainly that's creating new challenges for CFOs and treasurers. I feel like this is a time where treasurers really begin to earn their keep in many ways. When you think about industries like your own, what advice would you give to other CFOs who are managing, high labor intensive, capital intensive industries?
No, that's a great question, Eric, and top of mind. Certainly as we think about manufacturing and industrial-based companies, a lot tend to operate their businesses with leverage, and I think what we'll see in a structurally higher interest rate environment is more capital allocation toward debt repayment, which certainly has not been the trend over the last 15 years. When we think about the inflation in labor wage rates, I think that what we're seeing is more of a business case trending towards advanced manufacturing technologies and automation. And historically, relocating manufacturing to lower wage rate areas tended to prove out to be a better business case. Today, given the inflation that we're seeing around the world and wage rates, I think we'll see more capital allocation toward automation in the future.
Well, one of the exciting things of being at Owen is so many executives like yourself come through our doors every day. And one of the things I love about that is I love asking to them to share a leadership lesson, something that they've learned along the way. So can you share a leadership lesson with us?
Oh, sure. So I'll share a couple of thoughts here.
Two's great.
The first one is I've learned that leaders need to be decisive, and that's a lot because organizations need to be led, and associates within organizations want to know what direction the company is going to. So it's a lot about being decisive and then communicating decisions quickly throughout an organization. There are some decisions that aren't going to be able to be made quickly and that you have to put through a process. But even still, the goal should always be to be moving through that process as quickly as possible in order to move the business forward. I'd also say that one of the leadership lessons I've learned is to think boldly. And as I think about all of the senior executives I've grown to know in my career, one of the things they always reflect on and say to me is, gosh, if you have a CEO or a CFO who was in position for 7 years, they spent the first few years feeling out the role, getting comfortable in the organization, and then began to take some bold moves in the back half of their career. And they all tell me, gosh, I really wish that I had made bold moves earlier in my career. And so I think that that's an important lesson in leadership. Don't hold back.
That's great. Well, Christina, thank you so much for spending the day with us at Vanderbilt.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, Eric. Thank you for having me.